Okay, welcome along. I am chatting with Kate Driver all about relationship with food. Kate, do you want to just tell us a bit about what you do?
Hello. Thank you for having me on. Yes, I am a naturopath and a women's health coach. And so, I mean, look, I've been consulting for over 21 years in clinic, but I've been working online perhaps for about 5 or 6 years in the perimenopause and menopause realm. But the last few years specialising particularly in perimenopause because that's where women need the help the most. And it's so good to help women before they go through menopause so they don't end up having these terrible symptoms in menopause. And as probably you ladies know, that it can be the hardest time to get through. So I specialise in perimenopause particularly, and I do that by helping women feel their best health-wise. As a naturopath, we help with diet, lifestyle changes. I do mindset as well. Talk about that a bit because I'm very positive, and it's very it's very important to have that positive point of view and visualize yourself being healthier and more vibrant and getting rid of those symptoms rather than being a victim of them, because that's really important as well.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
then I talk about natural supplements such as herbs and homeopathics and nutrients. I'm big into nutrients and looking at what foods you can add to your diet as well that give you the nutrients to support your hormones at this time, and looking at reducing stress, all of that sort of thing. So a sort of holistic and whole sort of lifestyle and diet and supplement regime really is what I help with. And I do that with consults online and in the clinic in South Australia though. So many of you wouldn't be living here. But yeah, and I also have a program online that I always run. There's a few versions of it, but that's particularly for women in perimenopause. And that runs all the time. Yes, so that's an 8-week program. So that's how I help women. And I'm
Awesome.
really dedicated. I absolutely love it. I've been through my own sort of issues with perimenopause myself, and I've helped thousands of women in my clinic over the years as well. So I've got a lot of information and experience with helping women at
Cool.
this age, this time. Yeah, it's great.
So today we're particularly going to look at seed cycling and histamine reaction, which are things
Yeah.
people, I know a lot of people kind of are vaguely aware of seed cycling and are vaguely aware of histamine, but actually these things can really, really help us, can't they? And it's all about kind of adding things into our diet that will support us rather than, kind of feeling like we have to restrict everything and make ourselves feel miserable.
Yeah, sure, because we suffer with higher inflammation at this age in perimenopause and menopause. So that's really important to try and reduce some of the foods that aren't bad for us. And I'm sure you ladies know what that is. um, but also, yeah, include the foods that are really going to help reduce inflammation, that contain the nutrients that also support our estrogen and progesterone when they drop or rise, or whatever they're doing in perimenopause, because the estrogen is up and down and up and down. And yeah, look at what sort of foods you can. And seed cycling can help support the progesterone and estrogen. And unfortunately, a lot of women, and I've been through this myself as well, get more histamine reactive to the natural histamines. They're a type of amine in foods. And this is because of the estrogen dominance. It's usually because when women are in the estrogen dominant state. So when they go through menopause, it can actually reduce when the estrogen does drop quite a bit. But in perimenopause, it seems to be quite, it's I shouldn't say it's dominant, but it's quite common, and it can be related to many symptoms. So if you're looking at reducing histamine foods, it can really help a lot. Absolutely. And I even have just a patient recently that always said, like, she texts me sometimes and says, if I stick to the low histamine diet, I just don't have these hot flushes at all. And as soon as she has something, then they come up straight away. Even something like a banana, which is more of a histamine liberator. So yeah, really it is quite helpful to look at these foods as well, and add some really healthy foods to reduce inflammation, and not just, like you said, get rid of all the bad foods. You can still have some treats and things, but adding lots of good stuff is going to help you a lot for sure. Makes a huge difference.
So in terms of seed cycling, what are we looking at doing? I mean, we'll keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah.
So as I understand it, we're looking at one lot of seeds in the first half of the cycle and a different lot in the second half. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're still menstruating, then you'd in the first phase, you'd have the pumpkin seeds and the flax seeds, which are estrogenic. Now, I'd suggest, so the nutrients in them, sorry, and I'm just thinking that the next ones are the sunflower and sesame seeds. So what I suggest is that people grind their flax seeds and store them in an airtight container. My brain's trying to say 3 words at once. Store them in an airtight container in the fridge, and just at the beginning of the week, grind them yourself, because you don't want to buy them ground already, and you also don't want to have them whole because they don't get digested as efficiently. Now, this can really help with bowel movements as well. The lignans in the flax seeds actually are really, really helpful for helping your stools be softer, and also binding onto the bad estrogens as well. So it sort of helps you balance your different types of estrogens out. So yeah, definitely grind them and store them, and then you can add them to anything you like. So it's actually 2 tablespoons of each, and then you do sorry, what did I just say? Pumpkin seeds, that's right. Pumpkin seeds, lots of ladies like to just eat them as they are. That's fine. But I always get people to grind the flax seeds. If you want to grind the pumpkin seeds, you can. Now, I used to make seed butters personally, or put them in little seed crackers. But the seed butters I really loved. I used to always make them with pumpkin. And you can add flaxseed through the whole month rather than just, and that's what a lot of women tend to do. They'd have them every day, especially if they need help with, regular bowel movements. And if they've got a problem perhaps with estrogen metabolism or estrogen dominance, especially if there's say weight gain or inflammation in the body, that's good to keep in every day. But then in the second phase, then you'd actually get onto the sesame and the sunflower. And the sesame seeds, you can just have tahini. That's what a lot of women just buy, the tahini paste, rather than grinding them yourself. And then the sunflower seeds you could put on salads, or you could grind them if you want to, or put them in like little seed biscuits or in muffins, or whatever takes your fancy. So that is fairly simple. If you're not menstruating, then you'd go from the full moon, the new moon to the full moon, and then the full moon to the new moon with each of the 2 seeds. So even in menopause, women do that as well. They just follow the moon. If you get time to look at what the moon's doing or work it out, sometimes you just don't notice if you're busy, but you can look it up, what's happening with the moon, if you don't get out there to have a look at it. And I'm happy to post I've got an actual cheat sheet as well with that.
Oh, that would be cool.
So I could post that with this video if you like. Then it's easy for people to follow, and it's got some other information on it, and it's only 2 pages, so it's really simple, easy to follow, and it hasn't got loads of information going into all the technical detail, but it's basically the nutrients and the fats in there to support the estrogen and progesterone. So it's pretty easy.
Awesome. And then so onto histamines. So I only know about histamines. I'm just going to show my complete ignorance here. I know about, you take an antihistamine if you're allergic to whatever. So there's histamines in our food, and obviously we get more reactive to it as our hormones change. Is that right?
Yeah, we do. And look, sometimes people are reactive all of their lives, particularly if women have digestive issues or gut issues. So a lot of the histamine that we get from food or produce in our body is a natural chemical or neurotransmitter, and it acts on the brain. It keeps us alert. It actually helps increase our stomach acid. It helps us increase our libido as well. So women that that are taking antihistamines, perhaps for hay fever or some other sort of allergies, then they can be reducing these processes in your body. So it's not great to take them long term, because it's needed. And doctors or even pharmacists that you buy these antihistamines from aren't going to tell you this. But for some women, if they've got digestive issues, then they don't eliminate this excess histamine properly. So it's to do with the types of bacteria in your intestines as well. And if you don't have enough good bacteria, or you perhaps have parasites, and so don't freak out and think, oh, there's no way I've got parasites. But yeah, loads of women do, and or I should say people. Because I consult in clinic and I look at people's blood under a microscope, I actually see parasites quite a lot. You'd be surprised. I would say nowadays, probably in the last 5 or 6 years, I think it's probably about, I don't know, a quarter, a fifth of my patients would have them. And that can increase your sensitivity to histamine, increase histamine in your body, and inflammation as well. Some bacteria will do that as well. Some opportunistic bacteria that get into the intestines, that can be through food or water. And some people don't even know they've got them. But if anybody's got any digestive issues like irritable bowel or any inflammatory bowel disease or GERD, or any really, if you just get bloated or you get horrible digestive symptoms, then it might be likely, especially with constipation, that you're not eliminating your excess histamine. So that can build up in the body, and it can just make you more sensitive because of the estrogen dominance is actually the thing that can help make you more sensitive. So when women are in that estrogen dominant stage, then you become more histamine sensitive, and also with combination with poor digestion or digestive issues. And and it can be related to symptoms like hot flushes that can actually increase. So we all know about, the hormone changes can increase it, and the hormone cortisol can increase your, predisposition to hot flushes, and not everybody gets them, but histamine can actually increase hot flushes as well, and anxiety and sleeping issues. And particularly when women can't sleep at night time, they've got loads of sleeping issues, or even heart palpitations, or anything like that. It's good to look at the foods in the evening that may contain histamine that could be triggering off some of these symptoms. And even things like headaches and migraines, particularly they tend to be estrogen dominant related if it's around your menstrual cycle, around your period. But if you're not cycling, you don't have a period still, or you're not menstruating, your hormones are still cycling every month, you still may get headaches once a month, and that could be histamine and estrogen related as well. So reducing some of these foods and just being aware of it. With some women, they know at a particular time of the month they get more sensitive, and they have to reduce these foods and be quite strict. Like the patient I just mentioned, that she actually noticed that if she has some histamine foods around a period, that she definitely gets more hot flushes, and it's like really intense. Whereas other times of the month, she can get away with a few things here and there. And I'm talking about some really healthy foods like avocados and spinach and bananas and things like that. Fermented foods. And so many fermented foods are being used nowadays, aren't they? Like so many people have fermented, the kombucha and kimchi. Yeah. So that anything fermented is high in histamine as well. So even though we're, taught and it's a bit trendy to have them, then just be aware of all these foods that they could potentially. Now, it doesn't have to be everybody. I'm not saying everybody has to do this, but if you can find out, or you're a bit suspicious of it, just try it for a while. Go on a low histamine diet. It can really make a big difference.
So what are the sort of do you have a cheat sheet for the foods that contain histamine that we could add to this?
Yes, it's actually not my own. I use the Swiss, I think it's the Swiss Institute handout. Yeah, I could post that as well. I definitely have that. That's what I give all my clients and patients. And probably the most important ones are really the processed ones. And I sort of say to people, just, the natural ones like, spinach and avocados and tomatoes and things like that. They're really healthy, but, you just see, not everybody's going to react to everything.
And that's even some. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. This ties in with what I'm always saying to people is, we're all different, and if we track our symptoms against what we're eating, then we'll spot the patterns for us, won't we? I was speaking to one of my clients the other day, one of my fitness clients, and she really struggles. Nuts and seeds do not agree with her at all. But on the headline thing, people would go, oh yeah, but nuts and seeds are good for you, but they send her tummy absolutely nope, absolutely no. and I think with all of this, what we're always trying to do is give everybody all the information so that everybody can make their own informed decision on what to try, what's going to work for them.
Yeah, and it can be a bit like that for sure. I mean, the other thing with nuts and seeds, and I mean, it could be some histamines, but it's also, perimenopause is a time when your gallbladder and your liver both aren't very happy. So nuts and seeds are not only hard to digest, but they, being high in fat, even though they're the good fats, if you've got liver, or I shouldn't say liver problems, but gallbladder sludge, because of that change in estrogen, and particularly estrogen dominance, our gallbladder, our bile can get sludgy. So you may not particularly have gallstones, even though most people have got tiny ones, but it never affects them over a whole lifetime. But if your bile gets really sludgy, then that's not flowing freely and being able to break down the fats, and particularly in nuts and seeds. And so many people have them in the morning. And I used to do this years ago, had them in the morning and couldn't understand why I was reacting. And it was to do with the gallbladder or the bile, rather than an allergy. So, I mean, your client may be the same, I don't know, but that's the thing. It doesn't have to be histamine. It could be a true intolerance or an allergy, or it could be to do with the gallbladder and the bile production.
Yeah. And this is the thing, it's, we could go on forever on this, couldn't we? Because it's the body's so complex and there's such a lot going on. And, what I'm always trying to do is just give people a few pointers to things that they can try to help them feel better. And obviously seed cycling, I think, is a brilliant starting point that everybody can, unless you really can't tolerate seeds, but that's a different, we've covered that. But, seed cycling is a really easy one for people to incorporate. And if people feel like they are reacting to these histamine foods, then obviously looking at that is again, it's quite it's sort of simple things with an obvious result as well. Because if you see that when you eat avocado, it affects your hot flushes, and then you see that when you don't eat avocado, it doesn't. It's quite a nice, easy, straightforward one, isn't it?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Oh, the other one I didn't mention was red wine's quite high, and I know lots of people love red wine. That used to be one of my favourites years ago. So red wine can actually increase hot flushes as well, and some women like to, relax in the evening with a glass of red wine. So if you can say, okay, if I need to have alcohol, or if I really want to, sometimes it's probably good to avoid red wine and perhaps go for the lower histamine types of alcohol, which is more white wine. Champagne's pretty high as well because that's fermented. But so you'd go for rosé or white wine, or sort of gin or vodka or something like that. I forgot to mention that. So sometimes people react more to that rather than the natural histamines in avocado and other things like tomatoes. And so many people have tomatoes all the time and they don't really realise. They think, well, I don't feel bad having it, but it can also build up in the body over time, and depending on what state of health your digestive system is in, or the gut bacteria, that can change every few days. So you might find one time a week you react badly to some things, and then another time when you're more relaxed and your digestive health's better, you're actually okay. So that's the thing. It can change. It doesn't stay the same all the time. And just because you think, oh, actually I am reacting to some of these foods now, doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever and you have to always avoid those foods. It definitely changes. I've seen that with loads of women as they go through this and get more balance, and they work on even something like the adrenal glands that produce those fight and flight hormones and help control the histamine response in our body. They help dampen, that cortisol helps dampen the histamine and our inflammation in our body. So once your adrenal glands are stronger, if you do work on those with some sort of practitioner, then that can actually help reduce your sensitivity to histamine as well, which is really important, and give you loads of energy and calmness, and have less anxiety, and help you sleep better. All the things that are really important. So
it's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing how so much, I mean, I know we're talking about relationship with food, but actually, and a lot of us have a very complex relationship with food, and that's a different thing. But it's amazing how even just on the very, very simple level of what foods you choose to eat, it's amazing how they can all have such a different impact on each of us, and we are just, I suppose we are what we eat. And it's it's wonderful that the ladies watching this can access knowledge, and the other experts, and actually get to the bottom of what's helping them and what's hindering them. And I think that's just wonderful.
Yeah. Yes. And there's just so much information here for everybody to access. And yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think diets is probably one of the most important things, and you can get a lot of nutrients from your foods, particularly. And this is, it's something that if you can access it and afford it as well, having organic foods is really important because we're going to get more nutrients out of organic food too. So even having that mindset around, well, okay, I know I need nourishing foods and I need lots of nutrients, but even if you spend a little bit more money on organic food, so you're getting those extra nutrients, because if it's something from a supermarket, it's pretty old, pretty depleted from nutrients, and it's sprayed with glyphosate, and that's depleted in the soil already when it's been sprayed, and that plant doesn't have to have these antioxidants as much in it because it doesn't have to protect itself. So if you're having organic, they're foods, they're higher in antioxidants and phenols, sorry. And these antioxidants and phenols actually reduce inflammation. So that's really important as well to have organic food for that reason as well, and know that everything you put in your mouth can help nourish you. Yeah.
And I
really
suppose
help.
if you think back, it was only kind of 50, 60 years ago, a lot of people would be growing their own food and whatever. And we've just got
Yeah.
so sort of so far down the rabbit hole of convenience that we stop putting ourselves first. We just go for, well, this is convenient, I can pick this up in the supermarket, therefore it must be easy. And actually, I mean, on a very, very simple level, one of my little asides, we have chickens and we get a lot of eggs, and
Great.
oh my
Yeah.
god, they just taste, they're not comparable to eggs you buy, because they're organic, they're fresh, they're free range, they're all the things that eggs should be. And then you try the supermarket and you're like, oh, that's not the same.
Oh, that can be completely different. And you probably feed your chickens good stuff as well, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Real food,
Yeah,
not just
exactly.
chemical.
Imagine that.
Yeah, so we have got away from it. And I know a lot of people say, I haven't got time, or it's convenient. And, even microwaving food can be an issue because it destroys your nutrients, and it can cause more digestive issues because it scrambles all the nutrients and the way it heats the food up. I notice lots of women, and this is one symptom that actually does pop up a lot with women, is bloating and digestive issues and feeling like they're, not digesting foods. So it's just much harder to digest when you're looking at even microwave foods. And, as we age, not just in perimenopause, but as we age, our stomach acid reduces. So it's really important to make sure that you're eating food that is less processed as you did when you were younger. And it's just making those changes and knowing your body's not going to break those foods down as efficiently. I mean, you can have apple cider vinegar before meals, or digestive enzymes. That also helps. Yeah. Have you tried apple cider vinegar, or do you take it, Emily?
I give it to the chickens.
Do you? Oh, wow.
But I don't give it to them.
How do you give it to the chickens?
I put it in their water.
Oh, wow. And they like it, do they?
They still drink the water, so I assume they like it.
I know they can't kill you. They can't I suppose they can't, yeah, they can't do, but if they just avoid the water, I suppose they'd hate it. Wow, that's good. They must be healthy chickens.
Very.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're off on a tangent, but that's been so much information. That's wonderful. Thank you, Kate. And I look forward to adding the cheat sheets to this as well, so people can see, a visual about seed cycling and can look at the list of histamine foods. But yeah, I think we've given a lot of information, so I think I'm gonna say thank you very much now, and maybe we'll cover some more stuff in another interview sometime soon.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. That'd be wonderful. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.